Thank you for joining in once again and listening to another episode of the Edible Valley podcast. I'm chef and host Jonathan Frazier.
And I'm your co-host Aaron Howlett. Join us again as we go on another culinary adventure of the Comox Valley and beyond.
Thanks for joining us on episode 160. We're talking ice cream and learning about my new adventures with Blue Spruce Ice Cream. Back again here, sitting down and getting into another conversation.
Almost getting into a rhythm of this again.
Hopefully, yeah. Planning on doing this once a week now, and I think we've got a couple more podcasts lined up.
Yeah.
But this week, you were kind of pressing on me to talk about this because we've been avoiding it.
Yeah. I thought we'd turn the tables a bit, and maybe I'll take the interview reins, and we can talk about what you've got going on.
Talk about me. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we brought in actually my boss.
Your boss.
And my partner.
And your partner.
And
Kirsten Wood.
And the love of my life.
Let's hear it for Kirsten.
Yay, me.
Hey, Kirsten.
3 cheers.
Yeah. And so let's do a little recap here. John and Kirsten have the Blue Spruce, which is an ice cream and more shop downtown on 5th Street, sort of 5th and Cliff, pretty much that integral downtown. And you guys started this 4 months ago at this point?
4.
Right? And the
4 months?
Yeah.
Wow.
But the idea of it is, as these things do, the idea came about a little bit beforehand, a little while before that.
A little bit. We kind of spitballed some ideas. I'd say November is the first time we actually
uttered the words ice cream.
Yeah.
So when did you? Yeah, because I know this spun out of you leaving Atlas. So what was that? When did you leave Atlas?
Well, I didn't leave Atlas till December, but we've been sort of talking about
what was next
in November, and I was getting a little frustrated with a few things, and we're like, why don't we just open an ice cream shop? I think
right, because I think a lot of people, and at least a lot of people I've spoken to, were kind of mystified that you didn't spin out into your own restaurant, having been the chef of the number 1 or occasionally number 2 restaurant in town over the last 13 years. You know, it just made sense that you would have gone off to start your own restaurant. But, you know, I also, having been in this for a long time and in this industry locally, I understand how grueling that is and how competitive that is. So I get it. I get why you didn't want to go for a restaurant. But I think a lot of people were like, well, why ice cream? Like, what did you see here? What did you see that?
So much potential.
Yeah? What kind? Can you go into that a bit?
You can use a ton of local food. There's no waste here.
Right.
Really.
Which
so
is
that's
important.
a big factor.
I know
think.
that's important to you guys.
You know, there's a creative outlet for us, and everyone's happy when they have ice cream, which is a big factor.
We also noticed it was a missing aspect of the downtown community, because we'd looked at a spot in Cumberland,
right,
and it didn't quite feel right because we felt like we needed to be somewhere downtown and central.
Yeah,
you know, somewhere where there was like for traffic and for people to get together and sort of gather. So that's what we kind of looked at. And we thought, you know, ice cream is just, it's a fun thing, right? Like it's got so many, and there's so much to it. Like, and
that's a good point that Kirsten brought up, that people don't walk away from here unhappy. Like you don't go into an ice cream shop and leave unhappy.
Never.
You leave happy.
Well, we hope you leave happy unless we've done something very wrong.
Which you guys have yet to do. I mean, you guys have done a bang up job.
Well, and it's us looking at our customers and trying to appreciate what they want and letting them appreciate what we want to do and sort of challenge them a little bit with doing some creative flavors.
John gets to make everything from scratch.
I know, and that's incredible.
Totally from scratch. We use pretty much all local stuff.
I know. I watched that. I watched the raw ingredients come in and the products come back out that are just amazing.
Super rewarding.
I'd like to talk about a couple of things. First off, let's talk about creativity. Every chef needs that creative outlet. There is a certain amount of art in food, especially as you get into it further and further. And I understand that every chef needs a creative outlet. And okay, so you've got ice cream as your as your not as your palette, but more as your backdrop. So
I'm just thinking I should tell you the story of how we got here, because I know Kirsten's probably sick of hearing this by now. But like part of it was we started out with it was down in Portland,
right?
And it wasn't that we were looking to open an ice cream shop at the time. We were just touring and we wanted to try out the food there, and we'd heard such great things.
I think we talked about this on the podcast right when you got home from Portland. How it was such a big experience for you guys.
Yeah, and I think part of that experience is that I had this Salt and Straw. They had a Turkey Day ice cream, and it just like blew my mind because they had this creamy.
When's Turkey Day? I want to go. We should have Turkey Day here.
Well, we're trying to. We're working on that. It was Turkey Thanksgiving ice cream, and so it had this creamy ice cream, which they praline fried turkey skins. So you sort of tasted the creamy ice cream, then you tasted the praline, the sweet praline, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're hit with this mouthful of turkey, and it was beautiful. Like, it was just a really nice experience, and to me, it was like, wait, I can take this fun product, that I'm thinking of vanilla and chocolate and your basics, and go somewhere else with it and be creative with it.
Well, I mean, we're recording right now in there, and just some of the ones that I haven't seen before, just from walking in today, I can see grapefruit, rosemary sorbet, pear sorbet. I can see just things that are so far away from vanilla and chocolate. And like I know that you're daily coming up with new things.
Right. Well, and that leads to the next one is when I did the downtown dinner, which we did a fundraiser for Lush Valley, previous podcast. And we, and I did this spruce tip sorbet.
That's right.
And I've told this story 100 times, but we did this bruleed meringue. And I was thinking about the glaciers in the Comox Valley. And I had this beautiful little berry tart that I put at the base of this. And I was thinking, like, how do you connect the glacier to the berries in the valley? And then I was like, well, the spruce, the trees that come in there. And so we made the spruce tip sorbet. And I don't know what I was expecting it to taste like, but it really stole the show because it just had some really complex flavors or interesting flavors. Like, it wasn't just like tree, which a lot of people have. And it's in such abundance here. It's like literally you walk down to the river and you find a spruce tree, and then you go and you've got enough to make like 100 gallons of ice cream right there off of one tree. And so we just sort of took that and went, hey, let's run with it. And then Kirsten got a little more creative, and she really just comes up with ideas, and she's like, you're going to do a grapefruit and rosemary.
It's a perfect situation.
Well, didn't you do, what was one of the ones I saw the other day? Yam and roasted marshmallow?
Yeah, that's in there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like some of the stuff you've got are like fantastic. I haven't checked in for flavors in probably a couple of weeks, but like I have my favorites. I have that rose pistachio I love.
Right.
I have the toasted coconut one, which is also done with coconut milk. Like there's some fantastic staples that you've already sort of, but I still love the fact that half the cooler is always just whatever's going on right now, whatever you got. So that's the other, I think that sort of dovetails into my next question. Okay, local. I know that you really geared this place to be. And what can you speak to on that?
Like ingredients wise?
Sure. Like what's the impetus? I mean, I know generally that you guys are constantly trying to source out other local ingredients, and like what's that connection like?
Yeah,
we finding those. We
support a lot of local farms in town here. So we get stuff from Bates Beach Farms. We're doing Fireweed Farmstead. And on a bigger scale too, like all of our woodwork in here was done by a local person here from reclaimed wood.
Right.
That was grown here in the valley. So it's Cumberland Custom Reclaimed Woodworks. Yep. One of those words is missing. I don't know which one. So that's a big thing. We had a local person like do our curtains for us, which was kind of a thing, and our shelving. We have Honey Grove bread, which is made here locally. We support Darkside Chocolates.
Right.
Our cones are relatively local, like just on a bigger scheme too. We're buying our light fixtures from a local business.
Right.
All of our artwork is from there. Yeah, we have local food, but I think we go even further with
and I mean,
what we're supporting and putting our money in.
Right. So the majority of your product is cream and milk, and you're still using Dairyland, which is also Vancouver Island Farms.
We get it from Tree Island yogurt as well.
That's
yeah,
fantastic.
we do get a milk from them. So
That's
it's
awesome.
It's a cultured milk.
We would love to get other milk though from another farm if it's possible somehow.
Yeah, it's all. I know there's one we are looking at, like would love to get in the buffalo milk and try do a spin with that.
McClintocks.
Yes, some McClintocks. So we just haven't got there. It's funny because we have this list of things that thinking up that we want to do and just create different flavors and other people to get to. Staying ahead of the game and keeping people coming in for ice cream.
We feed local pigs.
That's true.
With any food waste?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then in turn later, maybe they'll feed us.
It's the cycle of life.
That's right.
You give ice cream, you get bacon.
That's right. And you know what? Kirsten made a big point, and that her big philosophy here was just to be like, let's compost and let's recycle properly.
Right.
And let's bring in products that go that route. We could easily get styrofoam containers to sell our product in. We could easily, and it'd be a lot cheaper and a lot more affordable for us to do it. But we're like, you know what, let's go the extra mile, and we've been bugging the downtown because they don't actually have a composting.
Right. They don't have compost pickup or
recycling pickup for businesses or those. So a lot of those things are on businesses themselves to take care of.
Recycling pickup for businesses?
Nope. Not unless you pay quite a bit.
That's
great.
Awful. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean there is the blue bin system, but it's not the same thing as what most businesses.
I'd say we're almost on the first name basis with the recycling depot too, because we go there so often.
No, but I mean the fact that you guys do, and again, I mean I've been here for a few days on hand, and I've seen like you guys recycle absolutely everything. So all that stuff not going into the garbage is recyclable material. So I can imagine at the end of the week, you guys have a ton of recyclable material. And the fact that there isn't anything set up for you, that's awful.
Yeah, we could pay to have a bin or something, but we're not big enough for that.
No, it just makes me think about what about the rest of the community? If you're facing that, everybody's facing that.
What about every business downtown, every restaurant downtown, and how much food gets thrown out every day? So here, we opened a business and we have a chance to do something on a bigger scale. So why would we keep doing things that way? We have a chance to actually affect something. And we could make a memorable sized non-dent in the landfill.
Right.
If we start recycling things, if we do that, because we're dealing with a bigger volume of things. Yeah. When you have that opportunity, how can you not take it?
Yeah.
And take the easy route out? It's not what I believe in. It's not our mandate. So it's not something that we're to do, and we're super proud that we're able to not throw out so much junk.
Yeah. I was going to say one of the things that I really like is that we've got these little teaspoons for sampling,
right?
And then we wash them all in the back. And so and for us it's kind of fun because we get to share our flavors because we want to make sure if you come in, you get the ice cream you want.
Yeah, and
we want to encourage you to try different things, and. Maybe the yam and brulee marshmallow mushroom.
Coming.
Maybe that's that's not your thing, but it'd be just interesting to try it and maybe just go through we want to sort of build up that trust with you that maybe we can create some good things, and we love to hear feedback. I know some of my ice creams have been good, but I feel like they can be better. Yeah. And doing small batches, it's a lot of fun because you're always improving.
So. Right. So going sort of, again, dovetailing from what you were talking about a moment ago, Kirsten, to something else that I wanted to talk about, maybe possibly the last thing I want to talk about, but community. That brings in the whole idea of community. And I know that you are community-minded and you wanted to have a place that was community-minded. I know that just right off the bat, before you guys had even opened, you were already starting to contribute to the Couscous as a business, and you didn't even have the doors open yet. You were trying to organize and get involved in that. Where does that fit in the grand scheme of things? Not necessarily the Couscous, but the community mindedness.
Well, I think if you're not community minded, then what are you doing? I guess. Mm-hmm. So downtown, we have the opportunity to support each other. If we support each other here downtown, we're going to draw business. We're going to create neighborhoods, and we're going to have a feeling and a vibe that you don't get elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we're able to contribute and donate to things, like we've donated to Yana and Couscous so far, school fundraisers and that sort of thing, then that kind of comes back to you. So I think it's the idea of, yes, we're a business, but our goal is not necessarily just to make money. It's to support things and get people interested in food, and having the ability to support local businesses and local farms is so awesome and so rewarding to do.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
So I want to bring up a little story about that, is that I just wanted to, looking across the downtown, the support from down here is that the other day we had Cornerstone there. They have a nice chalkboard outside.
That's right.
And they wrote up a beautiful little thing about how excited and congratulations to Jason with his new pizzeria
Right.
up on 5th Street.
Gorilla
Pizza. So we're like, oh, I'm like, that's awesome. So then, of course, I took a picture and I showed Kirsten. Of course, she posted on her thing saying, hey, so excited to have this. And
yeah,
so it's nice to have these little businesses popping up.
And there is a small network there where you're sort of propping each other and congratulating each other and helping one another along. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. And I have to throw it to Jason. Like, we bought a lot of his freezers off him. Like, it was worked out really well for us. So
the timing was perfect.
Exactly. So he was shutting down his small food production, his frozen food production, and just going straight into the...
He bailed us out too. He gave us sleeves of those cups when we were crazy busy in the summer.
Yeah.
And if we didn't have those, like, we wouldn't have been able to give out.
Oh, wow.
Because we sold out so fast. And he's just like, take these. And I was like, can I give you money? He's like, no.
Right.
Like, that's like, when we support each other in that, it's almost like you become a big collective conscious power down here. And that's so amazing.
I understand that. Yeah, completely. That you were saying that the root of this isn't necessarily to make money. It's to be a part of something and to create that community and that neighborhood. And it seems like you guys, in a few short months, have already firmly ensconced yourself in there.
Thanks. Yeah. I'd say we're not new either. Like, John's been down here for 13 years, and I've been also a part of here for, well, we both grew up here, but before that, teaching music and playing for local organizations and doing that is
absolutely,
helped us out a lot.
That's part of it too, is like having this courtyard out here has been amazing and it's one of those things that I've always felt guilty all my life, that it's just been this sort of dead area in town. Yeah. It's a beautiful little courtyard. There's a nice water fountain up there. We're lucky when we moved in, we bugged the city about putting in a nice bike rack. So there's one bike rack out there, so a couple people can lock their bikes up to it, which is great.
Yeah, it's fantastic
for the community. But then, we've also been doing some little pop-up musicians. Like, Kirsten has a lot of musician friends, and she just says, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah. And I know that you had a little event with our Comox Valley Poet Laureate just the other day.
That's right. We got the Poet Laureate in here reading poems about the 100,000 poet.
A one with a bunch of zeros.
Poet, and it was
change.
For change.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
So it was all poems about change.
Yeah.
And then it was, and they also did a whole thing on poems from their youth. So as a kid, poems that you remembered. So there was a bunch of people who stood up and read some poems, and it was cool. It was fun. And then Kirsten had her old choir.
Yeah, we had a pop-up choir here. Nice. And we had like 50 people. Well, it was amazing.
I mean, it's true. This is a very underutilized courtyard in literally the center of town, and people just ignore it. They don't think of anything because it's never had attention drawn to it.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you guys are starting to draw attention to it. You're starting to really give it a reason for existing, a raison d'etre, as they say, and giving it purpose. And I think that that's fantastic that you guys can get to...
well, and it's too, like, I even look across the street. We have the Sid William with the water fountain over there.
Right.
It's such a great opportunity for people to come down and just grab a cone across the street and hang out over there.
Yeah.
And then over at Mud Sharks and Gladstone, like, that's a great little corner just for hanging out.
Absolutely.
So have these little spots downtown.
These little community spots.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
Even, I got to say, up the hill, you've got Hot Chocolates. They've got that little courtyard in front of the Scotia Bank is up there.
Right. Yeah.
And you've got a little bit of room out there. So it's bringing these little areas for people, like places for people to eat downtown and just hang out and enjoy life, right?
So last question I have for you, and I'm not asking for specifics, but how has business been received?
Well, it's good. I'm glad you didn't say, what are you going to do in the winter? Because that's probably one of the biggest questions we get. But business has been good, like for the summer, and we started out really small.
Right.
I think that was our goal, is we didn't want to advertise. We didn't do much advertising to start. We didn't have a lot of great signage to start. People started flowing in, and I think most of our first bit was just with social media and getting that word out. And that was Kirsten
Yeah.
Because she won't let me do that stuff. And there's a good reason for it, because she knows what she's doing. And I always spell things wrong. And
right.
If anyone who's ever followed anything to do with the Edible Valley podcast can probably go through half of our statements and go, oh, John.
I really appreciate that you took ownership of all the spelling errors, because I'm quite a speller, and I know sometimes I'm like, oh, people are going to think I made that mistake. I'm kidding. You've been well received. I mean, and you said you wanted to start small, yet you've already got, what, 5 employees I've seen in here so far?
Yep.
That's probably a lot bigger than you thought your small would be.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger than what we thought. We thought it would be like this small, casual, the two of us could probably run the whole place, and we'd spill each other off. And then the summer hit, and it was like, whoa, wait a second, we need help. So,
right.
And luckily, we found some great staff that were super.
Absolutely.
We got some young kids, and you know what? Like, we have these 3 young girls that are working for us, and they're amazing.
Right. Their enthusiasm. And they're energetic.
They're all just coming out of high school, and I hate whenever anyone says about these young kids that don't work hard or don't do anything. And these girls are great, you know, and they've got energy, they're passionate, and they show up on time every day.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah,
and
it's
they work
like
hard,
amazing.
So, yeah.
Good.
They're not on their phones. And Brielle in the kitchen, she helps us in the kitchen. And I'm like, we need cookies today. And she just makes them. Like, it's amazing.
Doesn't need more direction than that.
I'm not a cook, so I'm amazed that anyone can make a cookie at all, let alone a little red heart-shaped one.
Yeah, so these are the kind of little things that we've been lucky to be
that's fantastic.
Blessed with having these people in our lives to help us out.
Great. So you're bigger than you thought you'd be already. And as John, you know, as we do this all the time, what's next? What's coming?
Well, it's getting into the winter.
Yeah.
And I think that's really playing with some more flavors, some more winter flavors, because that's some things I've kind of wanted to work on that I haven't had a chance to work on. Like I've intentionally stayed away from certain flavors because I'm waiting for the winter to come to sort of bring those flavors in. We're also developing a load of sort of flavors that are requested all the time, you know, like definitely having those, the dairy-free option has been very helpful for us.
And the dairy-free option isn't an option. If you're dairy-free, there's always a handful at least.
I try to have at least 4 flavors in there, and I try to have one that's not coconut. So we've had a lot of success with our coconut-flavored ice creams. Kirsten is technically lactose intolerant.
Yep.
Not that it stops her from trying and sampling all of them, but she is definitely the volume. She's goes after the coconut ones, and so she's always in love with them. So that's my biggest goal, is to make sure that she's getting a good product.
Well, some of the things that surprised me as far as when I asked what's next, I was really surprised that you got into, not surprised that you got into pints and ice cream sandwiches and all of that. Those seem to be pretty standard fare, but I was surprised that you've gotten into baked goods, that you now do a daily soup, which if people that went to Atlas know that, you know, a daily soup is just part of your daily process, always making sure there's a soup every day. And then the fact that you got into ice cream cakes, like there's some branching out here that, you know, some of it's obvious, some of it not so much, but any other things in the works outside?
I'd say too, like being a smaller scale place and where we're making everything from scratch, and John's so good in the kitchen that we can do so many things. Like we made pumpkin pies at Thanksgiving at the drop of a hat.
Pumpkin pies the other day. That surprised me, but it didn't surprise me. It didn't surprise me that it was within his wheelhouse to do. It just surprised me, like, oh yeah, of course he's going to make some pumpkin pies. He's John.
Someone asked for it. Yeah.
I didn't have a choice. I think that was my. Kirsten's like, oh yeah, we can make a couple pumpkin pies for someone, and I'm like, we can make a couple pumpkin pies. Yeah, sure.
You were like, we. What do you mean?
Yeah. What are you talking about?
Just we here.
But again, the big difference being it's not pumpkin from a jar or from a can. You made actual legitimate from scratch pumpkin pie.
We brought in some pumpkins and we roasted them off. I made some pie shells for them, and we just whipped them together.
The thing that I love about that is, yes, it's past whoever's listening. Sorry you missed out on the pumpkin pies. But it's that same ethos. It's that same, the way that you approach things, you know. If that entices you, the fact that John doesn't take things from a jar or a can or whatever. He gets the actual product, starts from scratch, does the work, and be on the lookout for what's coming up. The best thing, your Instagram, guys. Your Instagram is beautiful. Always got beautiful pictures. Lots of great things going on. I think you'd sort of do like an equal mix of here's the food we have. And that's great. But for sure, if anybody that's listening to this wants to know more, I think one of the best things to do is either check out your Facebook or your Instagram, where you're going to get to see a lot of those products.
Well, we lucked out with our Instagram because we got Danica
McDowell.
Yes.
Take our photos.
Some
of them.
It's funny how you connect with the right people at the right time. And I connected with her in January, just after I was at Atlas. And she wanted to connect with me because of the podcast and just find out who it was to talk to in town. Because she was moving here and she didn't know quite what to do. And I sat down for breakfast with her and she took a couple photos of our breakfast. And then she posted it that day on her Instagram. And I was just like, those are beautiful. And I told Kirsten right off the hop, like as soon as we opened place, I'm like, we need to bring her in just to do photos.
Yeah.
And then now Kirsten relies on her to come in all the time. And it's great for us because she challenges us with coming up with different photo ideas and ways to present our ice cream. And then we should also talk, because we're going to have her in soon, because we want to talk about how she has just set up Edible Vancouver Island.
Oh yeah. She's coming on as a guest.
So her and Dawn
Pasternak.
Yes, thank you. Have started this magazine, so I'm really interested to see where that goes and find out about the future of food publications on Vancouver Island and what they're doing. So
I also want to throw this out there too, that if I know that a lot of the people that listen to this might not have Instagram accounts, and you don't have to have an Instagram account to view the Instagram page. You can just look it up. You can Google it. Google Instagram. Check it up on any browser. You can't comment. That's the only thing. But if you go into Instagram online or on your phone or whatever and look up Blue Spruce, you'll at least get to see all this stunning photography and amazing food. So check it out.
Well, Kirsten, maybe you can give everyone contact information for us here at the...
Oh, yeah.
Best way to find
Blue Spruce CV is our Instagram handle.
Sure.
Is that what you call it?
Yep.
Or Blue Spruce CV@gmail.com, or come and hang out with us.
And our Facebook page?
Same.
Blue Spruce.
And if you do want to come and hang out, it is at the corner of 5th and Cliff. It is smack dab downtown Courtenay. But what's the actual address?
526 Cliff Avenue.
Awesome.
And we're open 11:30 to 8.
And we're right next to our lovely neighbors at the...
Holy Cow Yoga.
Holy Cow Yoga.
That's right. Yeah.
So if you want to do some yoga, come down, have some yoga. Afterwards, come over and grab an ice cream or a coffee or something.
Or a soup.
We're here. Or a cup of soup. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, I wish you guys nothing but success. I know that you don't need my well-wishing. You guys are well on your way. Thanks for doing this episode. I know that we've been talking about doing this one for months, so I'm glad that we were able to do it.
Finally got it off the plate,
to-do list.
And well, it's been a hectic summer, and that's why we haven't been able to do any podcasts. I know you've been running around with a bunch of stuff yourself, so it's nice to actually be able to focus back on this, and that ice cream's slowing down a bit, and so I get a chance to do a bit more of this, and that was kind of one of the goals of doing this for me. So
awesome.
But I guess we should let anyone know that if they want to find out more about the Edible Valley podcast, they can email us at the ediblevalley@gmail.com. Check us out on Facebook. We do have a WordPress site as well. So we've got some nice
Twitter. We've got
Twitter.
WordPress.
We got everything too.
We got everything.
We do it all. It's all.
You don't have sound effects though on your podcast.
We've got some
guys.
Our music intro.
We need the whoa, whoa, whoa.
We could do that for you.
Whoa.
Yeah, we'll do that.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks again for listening to the episode of the Edible Valley podcast. And once again, remember, keep it fresh, keep it flavorful, and keep it fun. Thanks for listening to the Edible Valley podcast.